So, who are some of the people that are fighting to protect these trees besides you as an environmental scientist?
Well, in Tasmania, the first Green political party was developed. So, yeah, they obviously want to protect the forest a lot and have big protests, tie themselves to trees, sit up in
Wow.
trees to protect the trees in the
People
particular forest.
actually still do that, tie themselves to trees.
Oh, every day in Tasmania,
Oh,
seemingly.
really?
Yeah, it's a big issue, a very big issue.
That's interesting. I once heard of a girl who lived in a tree for a month because she wanted to stop the deforestation company or people from taking down that tree. So she lived up there and she had people bring her supplies, but she never came down.
Really? That happens in Tasmania as well. There's people today which are up in trees, maybe up to 50, which permanently live up in trees.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That
I don't
is
know how they
so-
do it, but
That's kind of crazy. So, Nick, from the company's point of view, playing the devil's advocate here, I think they provide jobs for all the people who are working to make trees into paper. What do you think they have to say about that?
well, it's true they do provide jobs, and some cities, some small towns do rely on logging industry to provide jobs. Yeah, and support the shops in the place. But
But,
yeah, also tourism is a very big industry in Tasmania, and maybe the logging industry takes away tourist jobs as well because it makes certain areas not useful for tourism anymore, not very pretty.
yeah, you're right. If a whole forest is missing, I guess nobody would really want to go and look at anything.
Yeah, there's some very beautiful spots in Tasmania which have been maybe tarnished a little by the logging industry.
So, Nick, let's talk about touching and holding hands and physical touch with your significant other. Do you and your partner hold hands when you go out in the street?
We hold hands all the time. Initially, when we first went out, holding hands was the first thing we did. They've progressively moved on from there to kissing, but holding hands was certainly the first thing we did in our relationship.
Do you remember when you first tried to hold her hand, or did she try to hold your hand first?
I made the first move. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie, and I was getting a bit nervous, and I couldn't quite concentrate on the movie. So I moved my hand over to hers, and she reciprocated and moved on from there. So
You know, that's funny that you bring that up because one of the most common moves that is made fun of in movies as well is when the guy takes a big yawn, a fake yawn, and he opens his arms wide and places it around the girl's shoulder and thus embraces her. But he had to do it because he yawned.
in my experience, like my first hug was like that as well. So it was just a bit of an excuse I was reaching for something, and then suddenly my hand went around, and she didn't mind. So
That's
was a good
very
sign.
good. And what about kissing? Do you kiss a lot in public, in the streets?
Rarely in public because we find it makes other people uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true. I find that when I see couples kissing or making out in public, I usually think to myself, why don't you get a room?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to see that. You just want to be having a conversation with them, or you don't want them to be constantly distracted. You've lived in 3 different parts of the world, so is there any difference between each part in terms of physical contact?
Yeah, I have lived in Hong Kong, Guam, and the U.S. Hong Kong is in Asia. Guam is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. and the US is American culture. So in Hong Kong, I think most people would not touch each other, just give each other a little bow. I find that a bow is very common in Asia. If you're very good friends, you wouldn't really hug. Hugging, I think, is a very American thing to do. I think you would just touch each other on the shoulder or give each other a side embrace, a mini hug. In Guam, you would definitely greet your friends and family with a kiss on the cheek. A handshake is much too formal for island culture because island culture is so relaxed and laid back. You would only do a handshake with business partners or in a really formal setting. But usually a kiss on the cheek is what you receive and give when you see your family and friends. In the US, hugging is most common, I think, for friends and family. But if you're not friends and family, a handshake would probably be the most common.
Is the handshakes always the same, or is there different styles of handshake?
From what I've observed, Guam has American culture, so Guam handshakes and US handshakes are the same. I think in Hong Kong it's got a British background, so that's also very similar. I don't see any difference with the handshake.
So what about young people? Is there a different way they interact physically with each other?
Yes, definitely. In Guam, I always see people do a fist bump for close buddies of theirs. Girls would definitely hug and give each other a kiss. In Hong Kong, I don't see the fist bump often. I don't think I've ever seen it at all, actually. But for close friends, I think a side embrace or a semi-embrace would happen, but mostly just some form of touch or acknowledgement of the other person. I think it's also very common for people of the same sex to hold hands in Asia and just be friends. Woman and woman hold each other's hands if they are very, very, very good friends. And it's apparently very normal. I don't know about a guy holding another guy's hand, but if a woman and a woman hold each other's hands, it does not signal that they are together as a couple. It might just signal that they are very, very good friends or sisters.
In Australia, that would be very strange.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it? Even in America and Guam.
So, Monica, you actually are a trained physical education teacher.
Yes, that's right.
So we often hear about how kids today are not fit and they don't exercise enough. Do you think that's true?
I think it is true, yes. I think kids these days spend a lot more time on the computer than they used to. So, of course, that means less time outside and getting fit.
Now, in some countries, there's a big debate about how much fitness kids actually do in school. So in your country, in New Zealand, do kids still do a lot of fitness actually in school?
Well, reasonably recently, the PE curriculum got amalgamated with the health curriculum. So PE and health were considered to be important in school. And the health side of the curriculum is often taught in the classroom, and of course the PE side is often taught outside the classroom. And there is always debate about how much kids should be doing inside school. In fact, very recently, now that it has become quite a big problem in New Zealand for teenagers, there has been talk about increasing the number of PE lessons that students have. But the current Prime Minister, I think, believes that the emphasis should be support on out-of-school activities like clubs and encouraging students to become more involved in that side of things.
What do you feel? Do you think that it should be?
I actually agree, to be honest, because I think if you increase the number of PE lessons that students have in a week, it doesn't actually necessarily increase their motivation to be involved in physical activity. But if, like he's suggesting, you increase the opportunities outside of school, students maybe become involved in a sport that they choose, that they like to do, and they hopefully can take it on as a lifetime sport, which is important.
But wouldn't the counter argument be that only kids that actually have a natural inclination to play sports will want to join those clubs, and that the kids that are more sedentary or don't enjoy physical activity won't join a club, and so you need to actually make them do fitness in school?
Yeah, that's true. That is a counter argument, and a very good one.
So I guess
to argue on some other occasion. Of course, I can talk about that side of the argument as well, if you want me to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, but basically, you say it's both sides make a good point. Okay, Monica, we're going to debate winning in sports, especially for young people. So, do you think that winning should be stressed with sports, with, let's say, high school athletes?
Well, it depends on the situation and what they're training for. But generally, I think that winning is overemphasized in sport. I think that participation is more important. Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Well, I think if you concentrate too much on winning, then the problem is if you don't win, you don't enjoy the sport. So the emphasis is shifted from enjoyment to basically results. So I think it can be quite damaging.
Right. Oh, I kind of agree with what you're saying. And actually, I played high school sports, and I was never very good. And I always wish I participated more than I did. But I actually think that the focus on winning in some ways is quite important, and that it does serve a good purpose to have a focus on winning rather than on participation. I think the main reason is because when you focus on winning, that drives everybody to be better. So if you want to win, if you want to be on the team, etc., you have to force yourself to be better, and it's the carrot on the end of the stick, and it makes people train harder, work harder. It sets a goal for them, and it kind of prepares them for life. That sometimes you fail, and sometimes you don't get what you want, and so that's why sports and the whole focus on winning is good, because it's exactly how life is in the real world.
I would tend to argue the other way and say that actually sport doesn't reflect life in terms of winning and losing. I mean, let's take a work situation. It's not about winning or losing. It's about cooperating with people that you work with. And so if you have had an upbringing where you've been in a sports team that has been overly competitive, you could transfer that competitiveness into a workplace, and it can be counterproductive because it may mean that you're just not very good at being a team player in a work environment.
That's actually a really good point. But you could also argue that actually, even a work environment is like sport, and that you have teamwork and you have to work together, and if you don't work together in a very productive way, maybe you'll be out of a job or your company won't be productive. So you need to have that instinct to continually drive to be better than other people. And it sounds really brutal, but I think that's just how business works.
Well, you're talking about work being business, but I mean, I'm a teacher, and it brings me to quite an interesting discussion that's taking place now in teaching, which is two different kind of political views, really, in terms of teachers, because people want high standards in terms of their teachers, and one idea is to rate teachers in comparison to other teachers and basically give the top teachers incentives so that they get paid more than teachers who aren't as good as them. But the counter argument to that is that it creates a really hostile environment in the workplace, and in a school where you really need teachers to work together. I'm not sure that that's the best way to go.
Yeah, well, that's another debate for another day. But,
Is that a cop-out or what?
So I heard that Iran is very famous for its coffee.
Well, not coffee actually, the tea.
The tea.
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
special about it?
Well, we love tea. We have to drink tea. Some of the people, if they don't drink 2 or 3 glasses of tea, cups of tea, they have headaches. So
Headache?
yeah. And they are very much picky about the color of the tea. Everybody orders differently. Some people say, pour very colored, strong tea. Some people say, no, I don't want it that strong. And the medium, everybody has their own taste.
So I guess
yeah.
you got a lot of tea shops.
Yeah, we have traditional one, which is very interesting for the tourist, I believe, where you go in and you sit down, and no chairs there, and it's actually the cushions just behind you, so you can lie on these cushions, and kind of like a lying position. You can straighten your legs, and the servant will the servant will bring you the tea. The drinking tea in Iran is a little different from other countries.
Different.
Yeah. Well, we have a glass or a cup of tea, and beneath that we have something called estekan, which you put the glass of a cup on that. And the way you drink it is drink the tea is that you have to pick up the cubic sugar. It is a cubic. It's not like other powder type of sugar. You pick it up and then you tip it inside the tea little bit. When it gets the most, you put it inside your mouth. And you drink tea when the cubic sugar is in your mouth.
It takes time.
That's the way you drink it, and you will get used to it. Just try once; it's actually good. Yeah.
Do you go there often?
Once a year, yeah.
Once a
I go there.
year?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay,
I
it's
go there.
interesting. I'll
Thank
try.
you.
Hey MJ, I heard that herbal tea is good for your complexion.
Yes, I think so, because recently I'm drinking lots of herbal tea, and then my face is getting more white and smooth. I think it really helps on your complexion. Mike, you should try sometime.
Actually, for me, it's the opposite. My skin is pretty dry now, especially since the summer is coming, and so I've been using some kind of moisturizer, but doesn't really work that well. So maybe I should take up the, I should start drinking herbal tea.
Yeah, you should, because long time ago, my face was kind of dry like you, but after drinking a herbal tea, which my roommate recommended to me, and it really helped your skin to be more bright and energetic, my skin no more dry. It's really good.
Other than tea, what about food?
I think garlic is really good for your complexion.
Oh, I heard about that as well.
Yeah. Most Korean girls, they have so good skins, especially on their face. I think because they're eating kimchi, which the main ingredient is garlic.
Right. That's a big problem for me because I don't like garlic. I don't mind it if it's fried with vegetables, but I don't like the raw taste of garlic in it. Garlic's out for me, so are there any other stuff I can try?
Tomato. It is low calorie and it is a vegetable, which tastes like fruit, but it's vegetable. That is really good for your complexion as well. So if you like tomato, just try to take as many tomato as you can.
Fresh tomato?
Fresh tomato.
What about like tomato-based stuff like pasta? Is that okay or that's no?
That is okay, but when you cook the tomato, their vitamins just goes away. So
Oh.
the fresh one is better.
Fresh stuff. Okay. I got that.
By the way, what about the Singapore? Like, does girls eat special food for their skin?
Good question. I don't know that much, but there's always this thing about eating tofu. And for my dad, he doesn't even cook it. He eats it like he just eats tofu, without cooking it. And my dad has a great complexion. My mom, she drinks a combination of barley green. It's just a green substance from the barley plant.
Oh.
And she basically blends them together with garlic and one other fruit. What was it? Oh, a little bit of honey and apple cider.
Oh.
So it's just few ingredients together, and then she makes a juice. And she drinks it like every morning. But I've tried, but then I don't like raw garlic, so I can't stomach that. But my mom's complexion is good. But then these are not only good for your complexion; it's just good for overall health.